Hey, Gary Covert here, and I want to talk to you about the lifetime of a well. This is one of the biggest questions I get from investors, and I want to credit the answer to this question, the good answer to this question, and one that's probably counterintuitive to what people are expecting, to my good partner at BCP Resources, Barry Portman. So the question people are asking is, what's the lifetime of a well? And usually they're wondering, it's like, how many years does this thing produce oil and gas? And the answer is many, many years. It could be 7 to 10 years. But the key to that is, what you really want to be asking is, what's the economic life of an oil and gas well? Not just how long does it produce fluids, but how long can I make money on it? And that really is determined by your cost. So let me just draw a line here. So here, this line right here is a typical kind of view of a oil and gas well. You start with what they call here initial production, and let's just say somebody came in, the well came in at maybe 100 barrels per day. So you start at 100 barrels per day, and then little by little, that well starts to increase. You know, you've drilled it, and then you do initial production, 100 barrels a day, and maybe it hits 120, hits 130, and then maybe at its very top, it hits 150 barrels a day. So there's a wide variety of wells that one can drill. So I'm just using these numbers for illustrative purposes. There's some wells that make thousands of barrels per day, but I'm just giving you an idea based on numbers. Okay, but let's say you get to 150, and that's the peak for that oil and gas well. So maybe this takes, 6 months or 12 months or 15 months, 16 months, something like that, to get to that point. And then at some point, that well is going to start to fall off, and that's called a decline curve. So you'll know how much, based on other wells in that area, they're going to fall off. So every well is going to fall off in its production. And there's tricks that the operator can do to keep that decline curve, what they call flatter. So you don't want, or would like to avoid, a very steep decline curve. You want to keep that decline curve as flat as possible and reduce it as much as possible. But there's some things that operators can do to, what they say, decrease the decline curve. So you can do that through assisted pumping, you can do that through fluid management, and other tricks of the trade, enhanced oil recovery, things like that. I'm not the expert, but I know they do it, and I know they got some tricks up their sleeves to do it. But anyway, you got this decline curve, but every well, regardless of what you do, at some point is going to start to level off. So that's why oil and gas companies are always drilling new wells. They have to stay in business. They've got what they call the checkerboard. They've got a big map of different sections that they would like to drill, and for them to stay in business, they have got to continuously be drilling and looking for new opportunities, because every well, if they've got 1,000 wells that they've got in their portfolio today, they're all at some level of decline. So they got to go get new wells in order to have stable production for themselves, for their shareholders, and keep cash flow up, and be able to keep people on the books, or keep people employed. So anyway, that's what they need to do. They need to be out there continuously drilling. But for our purposes here, every well has got a decline curve, but it's the lifetime. Back to our original question, the lifetime is determined by your costs. So let's just say your costs are, let's just pick a number. Let's pick a high number. Let's just say your cost per barrel was $60 per barrel. And that's a high number, but just for illustrative purposes. So at $60 a barrel, the lifetime of that well would be very short, right? But let's just say that your cost, because the lifetime would end right about there. After this point here, it would be uneconomic for you to produce that well. But let's say your price was $40 per barrel. or what they call the operators, they call your lifting cost. It costs you $40 a barrel to extract that. Well, that's still not awesome, but it's certainly better than what you had before. So if this was your decline curve, then you were able to capture this much more revenue. But let's say your costs were $10 a barrel. Wow, now you got something. So now at $10 a barrel, the lifetime of this well is significantly extended. It goes out to here, right? So the longer, there's two levers that are going on here. One would be your lifting cost, which would be your price per barrel it takes for you to produce that oil and gas. So if your lifting costs are lower, then the lifetime of that well will extend. So you get this much additional production or profit from that well. But if your costs are higher, then of course the lifetime of that well will be shorter. So two tricks you want to do. One is make sure that your operator has got his lifting costs under control and is incentivized to keep his lifting costs under control. Maybe he's a partner with you, that will help. And make sure your lifting costs are low, because that will extend the lifetime of your well. The other thing that they can do is continuously make some investments or reinvestments so that they can flatten that decline curve. So if you just drill once and just start to pump as much as you can, and then don't do basic maintenance kinds of things, and make sure the oil is flowing well, make sure all your water is handled correctly, then this can peter off quicker than if you are a good steward of the asset. And then you can, what they call, flatten this decline curve. And that will also extend the value of the well. Okay, so what's the lifetime of the well? A simple answer, maybe 7 to 10 years, but that's not really what you're asking. Is what's the economic life of the well? And that has to do with the costs involved and your operator's savvy in terms of being able to flatten that decline curve. So hope you found that useful and a good education on the lifetime of a well. All right, thanks.